The stage of international diplomacy once again became the setting for a message that reaches far beyond China's borders. As Vladimir Putin wrapped up his official state visit, he stepped before cameras and reporters in a press conference that was part humour, part hard politics, and entirely calculated for global impact. The Russian president began with an unusual note: levity. He was asked about a post from Donald Trump on his Truth Social platform, in which the former US president wrote, "Give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America." With a faint smile, Putin replied that the US president is not lacking a sense of humour. "It's all clear, we know each other well. We have a good relationship and call each other by our first names. I can tell you this and hope he will hear that too." During these 4 days of various negotiations, both informal and formal, no one ever expressed any negative opinions about the current US administration. It was more than a joke. Putin used the opportunity to portray his ties with Trump as personal and cordial, even amid the war in Ukraine and rising East-West tensions. By highlighting informality and first-name familiarity, he suggested a relationship that transcends policy grids and official statements. The remark also served as a subtle message to global audiences. Moscow still has direct lines to Washington, at least through Trump. From there, Putin pivoted to Ukraine. He claimed that all his Chinese interlocutors, without exception, had backed his recent meeting with Trump in Anchorage. Everyone expressed hope, he said, that Trump's position and our position would lead to an end to the conflict in Ukraine. This framing sought to present Beijing not only as supportive of Moscow, but also as quietly optimistic that Trump could play a role in shaping peace. It cast the United States not as an adversary in this context, but as a potential partner if the right administration were in power. But when pressed on whether he would meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Putin's tone hardened. As for meetings with Mr. Zelensky, I have already spoken about this. In general, I did not rule out the possibility of a meeting. But is there any point in such meetings? His rhetorical question carried weight. It underscored Russia's deep skepticism that talks with Kiev could produce anything tangible. To Putin, dialogue without concessions or guarantees is little more than performance. He added that Trump himself had asked for such a meeting. "Donald asked me for such a meeting. I said, yes, it's possible. Let Zelensky come to Moscow." The choice of words was deliberate. Putin aligned Trump's request with Russian terms, effectively placing the burden on Ukraine to cross Moscow's threshold. The message: if Kiev wants talks, they will happen on Russia's ground, under Russia's rules. Still, Putin left space for diplomatic maneuver. "If it will be necessary to raise the level of delegations, we are ready for it," he said. This careful ambiguity suggested that Moscow could elevate discussions to higher levels if circumstances demanded, but only on its own terms. He then shifted to a familiar theme: security guarantees. No, we have never raised this issue or discussed it. Security guarantees are a matter of course. Every country should have these guarantees, a security system, and Ukraine is no exception. But this is not related to exchanges, especially exchanges of territory. Here, Putin positioned himself as a statesman defending universal principles, while simultaneously rejecting any linkage between peace and territorial compromise. For Russia, guarantees are acceptable in theory, but not if they come at the cost of reversing Moscow's battlefield gains. Finally, the press conference ended with a lighter exchange. Asked about The Wizard of the Kremlin, a novel that has sparked international discussion about Russian power politics, Putin replied, "No, I haven't seen this film. It's even the first time I'm hearing about it. I can't comment because I don't know." The response drew a ripple of laughter from the room, underscoring how humour and deflection can serve as a useful diplomatic tool. But beneath the humour and casual tone, the Beijing press conference revealed several critical threads. First, it underscored the role of China as a stage for Russia to signal strength and alliances. Putin's choice of words suggested not only that Beijing supports Moscow, but that the Chinese leadership sees value in engaging Trump's influence on the global stage. Second, it placed Trump firmly in the narrative. Putin portrayed him not merely as a past leader, but as a potential partner in future negotiations. This served dual purposes: flattering Trump, who thrives on being recognized by global figures, and signaling to American audiences that Russia still sees pathways to Washington, though perhaps not through the current administration. Third, it dismissed Zelensky as a serious counterpart. By questioning whether such meetings have any point, Putin telegraphed Russia's unwillingness to treat Ukraine as an independent negotiator outside of great power arrangements. This is consistent with Moscow's long-standing strategy to shift the focus of diplomacy away from Kyiv and onto Washington, Beijing and Moscow. Fourth, it reinforced Russia's non-negotiable stance on territory. The mention of security guarantees was telling, acknowledging that every state, including Ukraine, has the right to safety, but rejecting any tie between those guarantees and territorial concessions. This was both a rebuff to Western peace plans and a reaffirmation of Russia's battlefield red lines. And finally, the tone itself, mixing jokes, hints and hard assertions, was a performance carefully staged for multiple audiences. To domestic viewers, it showcased Putin as a leader on friendly terms with Trump, respected in Beijing and in command of negotiations. To international observers, it suggested flexibility and openness to talks on Moscow's terms. To skeptics, it was a reminder that behind the humour lies an uncompromising position. As the cameras shut down and Putin left the podium, the scene in Beijing captured the contradictions of Russian diplomacy, humour paired with defiance, promises of dialogue paired with dismissal, and gestures of flexibility paired with immovable red lines. What began with Trump's joke about conspiring against America ended with a sobering reminder of how Russia frames itself in this war, a nation both seeking recognition and refusing to yield. In Beijing, Vladimir Putin wrapped up his state visit with words that seemed light but carried heavy weight. The world listened. Allies, adversaries and undecided players alike will now judge whether these remarks represent genuine signals of future diplomacy or simply another performance in the ongoing theatre of global power. The US president is not lacking a sense of humour. It's all clear. We know each other well. We have a good relationship and call each other by our first names. I can tell you this and hope he will hear that too. During these 4 days of various negotiations, both informal and formal, no one ever expressed any negative opinions about the current US administration. All of my interlocutors in China, without exception, I want to emphasize absolutely all of them, supported our meeting in Anchorage. Everyone expressed hope that Trump's position and our position would lead to an end to the conflict in Ukraine. As for meetings with Mr. Zelensky, I have already spoken about this. In general, I did not rule out the possibility of a meeting, but is there any point in such meetings? Donald asked me for such a meeting. I said, yes, it's possible. Let Zelensky come to Moscow. If it will be necessary to raise the level of delegations, we are ready for it. No, we have never raised this issue or discussed it. Security guarantees are a matter of course. I often talk about this. We proceed from the assumption that every country should have these guarantees, a security system, and Ukraine is no exception. But this is not related to exchanges, especially exchanges of territory. No, I haven't seen this film, The Wizard of the Kremlin. It's even the first time I'm hearing about it. I can't comment because I don't know.